Welcome, everybody, to the Healthy Habit Podcast, episode number 212. I'm your host, Dr. Dayan of Healthy Habit Medical Center, located right inside Healthy Habit Health Foods at 6029 North 7th Street, at the corner of 7th Street and Bethany Home, right here in Uptown Phoenix, Arizona. And we're talking with Maria Maroney here today, back with us, representing Natural Factors, Whole Earth and Sea, and that whole Natural Factors team there. Maria is an integrative nutritionist with decades of natural products industry experience across both retail and practitioner channels, including work for the esteemed Institute of Functional Medicine, the IFM for short. Maria holds a master's degree in clinical nutrition from Maryland University of Integrative Health. While she maintains a food-first approach, she's keenly aware of the lack of nutrients in foods grown today, which we just covered in a previous episode with a Natural Factors guest on how a bunch of the Earth's topsoil is set to be depleted by 2050, and firmly believes in the positive impact the right supplements can have on human health. Maria is a skilled and passionate educator committed to evidence-based nutrition, cutting through all the misinformation and delivering content that inspires others to live healthier lives. Maria, welcome back.
Thank you so much. Nice to be here.
Thanks for joining us here today. After some technical difficulties there before we went live, we're up and running. We're ready to go here over the next 25 minutes or so. So we're going to be highlighting, protein options, navigating protein. It's a big, people are always they're always asking questions about protein. How much do they need a day? Which one's the best to take? Why is it so important? So let's hear about it. What's the job of protein in the body? Why is it so important? Why is it needed?
Yeah, it's really a very interesting topic. I think most people associate protein with building muscle, right? When you think protein, you think muscle. But we need protein for so many more things than that. We need protein to do things like oxygenate the blood, right? So red blood cells have a protein in them called hemoglobin, and hemoglobin carries oxygen throughout the body. So we need protein for that. Protein is also important to help regulate hormones. Especially important during, transformative years and development of cells during things like puberty, for example. We also need proteins to make enzymes. So pretty much nothing happens in our body without some kind of enzymatic reaction, right? So enzymes are very important, and they come from proteins, including digestive enzymes, right? So we need proteins for digestion.
Right.
So it's actually pretty cool. I saw a recent study that I was reading. It was highlighting the role of dietary proteins in promoting muscle building using resistance training, right? What was really cool was that it showed the breakdown of what different body systems used what percentage of protein. Oh. So when you eat protein, what happens? The liver and the gut have first dibs on that protein, right? They use 50% of the protein that we take in to create enzymes and clotting factors and albumin. And albumin is a really important protein for managing fluid levels in the body. So from that 50%, now 50% is gone. There's 50% left. 40% of the protein gets broken down and used to make neurotransmitters in the body, things like serotonin and GABA, which makes me think that getting enough protein in a day might be really important for getting better sleep or maintaining good mood, right? So of course, if you're doing the math with me, that leaves 10%. And that 10% is left over for muscle building. So I think that that's a pretty eye-opening number when people think that I'm going to take in my protein to build more muscle. You're really only getting about 10% towards that goal. Yeah, kind of interesting.
Very interesting. And so one thing I wanted to know is so there's amino acids, there's peptides, there's protein. I just took 3 scoops of collagen peptides and I use that in the morning in my drink. Differentiate that a little bit,
Sure.
We know it's like a chain. We can break down the very specifics, but yeah, differentiate that a little bit for us.
Sure. So, what the body needs is actually amino acids, and amino acids are the building blocks of protein. So, and you could think of them exactly like that, like blocks or beads on a chain is another way to think about it. So when you get a couple of amino acids together, that creates what's known as a peptide chain. So aminos create peptide chains, and peptide chains, when they all get together and start folding over on each other, that's what becomes an actual protein.
Right.
So the body has two systems, really an anabolic process of building proteins, but a catabolic process also of breaking down. So when you eat a protein, your body breaks down that protein into all of its separate amino acids, and then the body will reassemble them to create all of those different enzymes that are needed in the body. So it's a disassembling and then a reassembling. And that's why it's so important to make sure that you're getting all of the essential amino acids. So, and there's 9 essential amino acids and there's 11 non-essential. Essential means you need to get them from food. It's essential that you get them from your diet. And then non-essential doesn't mean you don't need them. It just means it's not essential to get it from foods because your body can make them from the other amino acids you're getting.
Yeah.
Make sense?
No, absolutely. And then foods that contain all those essential amino acids are known as complete foods or complete proteins versus incomplete, correct?
Correct. Yeah. So I think most people think protein is protein, right?
Yeah.
So, and I've seen this in my practice. I'll have a client that's just eating lots of peanut butter and thinking she's getting lots of protein in her diet. And peanut butter is a great plant protein, but it's not a complete protein. So what do I mean by that?
Plus, they're getting in I want to add to that. Plus, they're getting in all the omega-6 fats with it's really high fat. Actually, there's more fat than protein in peanut butter. But anyways, keep going.
Very true. Very true.
Yeah.
So what's the difference between a complete protein and an incomplete? So complete is, it's like putting a puzzle together, actually. Like if you don't have all the pieces of a puzzle, it's not a complete picture, right? So you have to have all of the essential amino acids during the course of a day in order for your body to actually do the disassembling. If the body doesn't recognize that protein as complete, it uses those amino acids for other things like carbohydrate. It'll look at it as a carbohydrate and just either utilize it for energy or store it, which is scary. We don't want it stored as a carbohydrate. We want it utilized as a protein, right?
Yeah.
So animal proteins are complete. That means they contain all of the essential amino acids in sufficient ratios, right? Most plant proteins are incomplete, means they are either missing or they're extremely low in some of the amino acids. So plant proteins are notoriously low in the amino acid methionine and lysine. Those are two that they tend to usually be low in. So how do you make those plant proteins complete? You do food combining, right? You eat foods that have some of these essential amino acids over here and some other essential amino acids over there. So the combining of the two foods will make that protein complete. And so that's really the best way. And every food culture, every culture actually does food combining, right? Rice and beans, beans and corn, rice and beans, pasta and beans, right?
Yeah.
They all do that food combining that creates complete proteins. So you don't have to like make yourself crazy or tie yourself up in a knot if you're vegetarian, right? You just have to not go to an extreme, like be a vegan and also be grain free, right?
Yeah,
that's really hard to get your proteins then.
That's when the health collapses. I've
Yes.
met a lot of vegan vegetarians. They just eat salads,
Yeah.
And then they don't thrive.
Or beans, lots of beans, but not the grain to go with it.
The rice,
and then
the white rice.
Then it's really just carbohydrate. Yeah.
Yep. So thanks for highlighting that. How much protein would you say the average person needs? Some people are saying, oh, you need a gram per pound of body weight, which, I mean, if someone weighs 220 pounds, that's a lot.
That's too much.
A lot of protein, 230 grams a day. I don't think that's necessary. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, so I think where that comes from is that the RDA basically says 0.08 grams per kilogram of body weight. And so, of course, that's a pretty useless equation here in the US because we don't use metric.
Use kilos.
So people hear kilogram, but they think pound. And so what does that equate to? It really, there's a whole equation for, figuring that out. I had to learn it in school. It's not fun. I never use it. What it basically is it works out to about 3.5 grams of protein for every 10 pounds of body weight. So if you weigh 150 pounds, it's roughly 52 grams of protein, right?
That's
So
solid.
it's a
Yeah.
nice way to just kind of figure it out. But if you're hearing grams for instead of kilograms, that's like 150 grams of protein. So you can see where that's kind of dangerous, that trying to figure out that equation. There are trackers all over the internet. You could plug in, like lots of, I'm trying to think some of them off the top of my head, some of those calorie trackers that'll tell you exactly how much protein you need
Yeah, like
per.
there's MyFitnessPal, there's
That's it.
Chronometer.
Yeah.
Chronometer's
Yeah.
one.
I use Chronometer. I like that one. A lot of people use MyFitnessPal.
Uh-huh.
But here's the other thing, everybody's different. Everybody needs different amounts of protein. So
Right.
young children, growing children, pregnant women, athletes, they're definitely going to need more. Depending on your level of activity, you may need more. And I think there's an awful lot of research right now showing that we need a lot more protein than people really think we do. But for now, the RDA is, what it is. And so we kind of use that as a guideline. And then you go up from there if you feel like you need a little bit more.
Yeah, no, it's a good point. And, a lot of people, they're eating highly processed foods that they get full from. It just takes up space in the stomach, but they never really hit those protein needs from a good quality source. So
Exactly.
I'm glad you highlighted that. And yeah, my question originally was just the average person, but you're so right. If someone's 6'9" versus someone that's 5'3", I mean, they're probably going to need
Mhm.
different amounts of protein, right? So, uh,
Right.
yeah, thanks
Right,
for
depending on their weight and height,
exactly.
and their levels of activity. That's why it's everybody's different. You
Yeah,
gotta figure it out for yourself. Pay
yeah.
attention.
Right. So if you're just tuning in, folks, it's episode 212. We're talking, or it's 212, with Maria Maroney here, representing Natural Factors in our monthly check-in. We're covering all things protein, average needs, difference between protein, peptides, amino acids, why do we even need it in the body, and some ways to make sure that you're getting all your essential amino acids, forming complete protein meals. So what would you say is the best absorbed form of protein?
Well, it's an easy answer, and it's not the most popular answer right now.
Okay.
It's actually whey protein.
Mm.
Um, so it's the most best utilized form of protein in the body, and they're not all the same. I will say that not all whey proteins are the same. If you really look at labels, you'll see that whey proteins are usually isolates. So isolates are what they sound like. It's isolating the protein from the rest of the carbohydrate and the fat inside the dairy. So how do they do that? They highly process the protein in order to remove that lactose and that carbohydrate, so they can get the protein more concentrated. Problem with it is that extra processing also removes some of the little known benefits of whey. And one of the most
Okay.
researched yet little known perks of whey protein is its immune benefits, actually. So whey contains immunoglobulins, or antibodies, and also lactoferrins, which are sort of act as prebiotics in the body, right?
Mm.
And so when you're creating an isolate, you're processing several times to get to that isolate of protein, and those beneficial compounds are usually destroyed.
Got it.
So natural factors, of course, makes a different kind of whey protein. We don't do a whey protein isolate. We do a whey protein concentrate.
Interesting.
So the system for concentrating is like this cross-flow microfiltration technology, and it's used so we can retain all of those health benefits. So natural factors is always looking for a better way to do things. So they developed this process, and it retains all of those immune benefits while reducing the lactose and the carbohydrate and increasing the protein content. So, and it's a cold process, by the way.
Cold, like opposite of hot, cold process, you said?
Yes, a cold process.
Can you
Yep.
explain that?
So it preserves all of the immune benefits of whey. So this product's been around for a long time. It's a little known, or not as well known gem, really, because it is different from what else is out there.
Yeah, this has been on my radar for several years now since we started a Healthy Habit over 6, 7 years ago, and it always stood out as an extremely clean version of whey protein without all those extra fillers. I'll start off with just like the unflavored one here. Obviously, the flavored ones have a couple more ingredients to add the flavor, but
Mm-hmm.
so gluten-free, non-GMO, hormone-free. Explain that last piece, hormone-free, meaning the cows, they're not fed
Not
any
treated
hormone.
with any of the usual suspects. Yes,
Uh-huh.
they are. And grass fed, I think, as we know with grass fed beef, the same, what the cows are fed has a lot to do with the end product, right? So,
Right. Yeah. So a pure source of high quality whey protein provides support for muscle development and repair as well as the immune system. That's a lesser known uh, requirement for the body, is that it needs protein, a good quality protein for the immune system to work properly. Mixes instantly. It's the best tasting, highest quality whey protein. It contains 3 grams of glutamic acid, 4 grams of BCAAs per serving. So there's that undenatured, microfiltered. It's right there on the front of it. So tell us a bit more about that microfiltering and how
well,
is that? Go ahead with that.
yeah, um, I think what's really beneficial is that it's that cold process. And because it's only filtered once, that's it. And so all of those nutrients, those immune benefits are all retained. But their process, the
Yeah.
process of microfiltering also gets rid of some of the lactose and some of the carbohydrate, which people don't want to see in their, as we age, we have a little bit more trouble sometimes with lactose.
Uh-huh.
So it's the whey protein that we want. And so it's the best form of and most easily absorbed form of protein. It has all these benefits. I think a lot of times you think of protein powders and you think of bodybuilders, and they're always looking for the most protein you can get. But what about the average person who's just making a morning smoothie and wants
Yes.
their protein? Or somebody who's maybe, I don't know, a woman who's postmenopausal. She's not interested, well, yes, she's interested in building muscle, of course, but she's not interested in bodybuilding. She's
Yeah.
just looking for as many health benefits in a product as she can get. And
Right.
so I think that's where the whey factor steps in very nicely.
And if you're watching this on YouTube, we do have the audio version as well on Spotify for the podcast, but the YouTube version's nice. You can follow along with us, see what I'm pulling up here and what we're exactly showing on the screen. There's actually an enzyme blend in here as well, with the papain from the fruit, lipase, protease. You even have
Yep.
pineapple stem sourcing of bromelain in there, with the other ingredients at none. That's not bad.
Yeah.
Talk about being pretty clean. None. So explain why the enzyme blend was added in there.
Always to help with digestion. Anything you can do to help with digestion, of course, and that's in all of our protein formulas. You want a little assistance in digesting. It's I think pretty sure that that's why. The
It
other
makes
nice
sense.
thing about the cross microfiltration, by the way, is the
Yeah.
less processing, the better the taste. And I think that's a
Oh, okay.
really important thing.
Interesting. I'm glad. Yes, the enzyme blend is 95% chance it was added in to help with digestion, because some people, especially if they're not used to taking protein regularly, it could cause some bloating and upset stomach in the beginning with whey or any kind of protein powder, to be honest. So
Usually,
go ahead.
yeah, usually that happens with plant proteins, right?
Mm,
I think with plant proteins, if you're somebody who has trouble with, I don't know, eating beans, for example,
yeah.
right? Then chances are going to be pretty good that you're going to have trouble with a plant protein as well, because
Right.
it's going to cause the same kinds of issues. So, but plant proteins tend to be like incredibly trendy right now. And so, Natural Factors has two different kinds of plant proteins. We have our whole earth and sea protein,
Uh huh.
uh, which so it's got a complete amino acid profile. So before I said you want to combine plant
Right.
proteins, right? So we have an assortment of plant proteins. So we have pea protein, rice protein, pumpkin protein, spirulina, and chlorella. And so those are easy to digest and gentle on the stomach. Again, non-GMO, soy-free, sugar-free, vegan, raw, and it comes in, let me see, chocolate, vanilla, and unflavored, if I'm remembering correctly.
Yes, exactly. And I'm glad this came up in the discussion. I wanted to mention this earlier, that there's only like 2 or 3 plant proteins that have all those amino acids. Like quinoa is one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Pea protein is one. The soy family is one as well. But unless you can get that
That's
organic,
not so popular anymore. Yeah.
I would avoid the tofus, tempehs. I have it in my diet pretty regularly. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, I follow Asian nutrition, but you got to get them organic, non-GMO, without all the glyphosate added. And it's one of the most heavily sprayed crops on the planet is soy. But it is at the end of the day a complete. It has all the amino acids, which is super interesting. Plus, they added in the spirulina and chlorella with it, which is nice for
Which
extra.
adds to the amino acid profile,
Exactly.
actually.
Yeah, and
And
actually, yeah. Go ahead.
I was going to say it's a good point that you just made about the. It's a good time for us to talk a little bit about ISURA and our
Absolutely.
testing that we do. So, because plants are known bioaccumulators, right? So they
Ah,
pull nutrients from the soil. And so, one of the nice things about natural factors is because we are third party tested through ISURA, ISURA is testing for over 800 potential contaminants, including heavy metals, including over 700 different pesticides, including glyphosate. So, I think that. If you're concerned about, there's some buzz in the, industry about, heavy metals in some plant-based products. You
right.
don't have to worry about natural factors because we test for all of that and make sure it's not in there.
Good. I'm glad to hear that. That's huge. Again, this is the plant version. If you're on a vegetarian, vegan diet, not eating animal products, or if you're on a plant-based diet and just prioritizing more plant products right now over animal products, then they do have the whole earth and sea line here as well, with a couple other flavors like Maria was just mentioning, the vanilla and the decadent chocolate version as well. These are actually really good. I've had these and they mix really nicely into things. But then also we highlighted the whey factors, the natural factors whey protein powder options from grass-fed whey protein, double chocolate, strawberry, unflavored, and then French vanilla as well. With about 19 grams of protein, it looks like, per scoop. Let me confirm that. 25.9 actually,
25,
per
which is
one scoop.
about what the average person can absorb in one sitting.
Got it. I don't
25
know
to 35 grams roughly.
why it says 19 on the front then. I'm not sure.
Oh, that's interesting.
So, but that might include, yeah, I'm not sure there, but 25.9 here it says per one scoop, but you're getting north of 19. Let's go with that for now. So I appreciate you highlighting these, Maria. Perfect options for whatever you guys need right here at Natural Factors, and we're all stocked up and ready to go here at Healthy Habit Health Foods. Can you do a quick collagen highlight for me? I just did my 3 scoops in my decaf container here this morning to start the day. I used to be at 2,
Nice.
just bumped it up to 3 for like injury prevention, playing a lot of sport, basketball. It's really good for the tendons, ligaments, post-workout recovery. But differentiate that a little bit, and then we'll wrap it up here. About a couple minutes here to go.
Yeah, so the problem with most collagens, not ours, but most collagens, is that collagen isn't a complete protein. It doesn't have
Interesting.
all the amino acids. In fact, you won't usually see the word protein on the label of a collagen product. FDA won't let us put that because it doesn't consider collagen a complete protein.
Wow.
And that's because they're usually missing the amino acid tryptophan. And so Natural Factors uses, our total body collagen product uses Verisol collagen, which is a very well tested collagen ingredient that has all kinds of beauty benefits, 28 days to healthier skin,
Yeah.
to reduce fine lines and wrinkles. But what we did was we added a few things to the Verisol collagen. We added tryptophan, which completes the amino acid profile, making our collagen our total body collagen, a complete protein. So if you're looking to, to just get the beauty benefits, that's, you take it for collagen purposes. But you can actually use our collagen as double duty. It's a full spectrum protein powder.
Because that tryptophan was added in there. Made it
Tryptophan.
complete.
In addition, there's hyaluronic acid. There's
Right.
also glutamine. There's also vitamin C. All kinds of really great things in there. But yeah, I think there's a couple of creative ways to add that to your diet as well. Nobody wants to drink water, right? Everybody needs to drink water. Nobody wants to drink water. And why? Because it has no flavor. So we have a pomegranate and an orange flavored total body collagen. Well, if you mix a scoop in an 8-ounce glass of water, you've got 11 grams of protein right there, and you've knocked off one of those glasses of water you're supposed to drink for the day.
I love that. And I'm going to add that to the show notes here under the video, the Total Body Collagen by Natural Factors, right next to our little question of how is collagen protein different. And we've highlighted the TBC on previous episodes.
Yeah.
I think I quoted that acronym. I think I was the first one to say TBC, but
Oh, it's you, huh?
that's me.
That's awesome.
Total Body Collagen by Natural Factors. And what's a good take home here, Maria? We'll leave it here for the last minute. I always appreciate you coming on. What's a good take home message? What should our customers and patients and all listeners walk away with here today?
Well, I think what I thought about, what I wanted to say for this kind of last statement was to give you some creative ways to add protein to your diet, because I think most people are probably not getting enough. So, I think it's common for people to do a smoothie, add a scoop to a smoothie. That's an easy. But you can also mix a scoop into yogurt or mix it into oatmeal. That's a really nice way to get another scoop of protein in. You could add a scoop of the Total Body Collagen to your morning hot beverage, the unflavored. So it dissolves in hot or cold. So coffee, tea, whatever you choose for your morning, Ticino, Dandy Blend, whatever it is that you drink first thing in the morning. And then another way to get a little bit more protein into your diet would be to mix a scoop into a batch of energy bars that you mix up yourself, or energy balls. There's recipes all over the internet for that kind of thing. And those are nice ways to get a little extra protein into your day too.
I like that you mentioned the oatmeal technique. That's like 90% of the time I've ever used protein powders, I've put it in oatmeal with the berries, the bananas, mix all that together. It gives some nice flavor. I usually like the vanilla or the chocolate proteins, and then the whole thing tastes like that. So that's a great way to sneak in some extra protein. I thank you for your time. Thanks, Maria, for coming on. I'll be sharing the links below for naturalfactors.com with the show notes for whey factors, as well as the whole earth and sea protein options, as well as a total body collagen. I appreciate your time.
Thanks. Nice to be here, and have a great day.